you. We've asked Professor John Mack on a couple of occasions to come and address the Congress, and at long last, he's made it here. Yeah. So, Professor Mack is kind of an icon, I would say, in the field of abduction research. And the reason that he is because he's probably the most heavily credentialed, most public guy that has come forward with his work in this phenomena. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that his findings and his research is any more valid than anybody else's? No, it doesn't. But what it does mean is that even though it's not fair, it's not accurate, it's not right, his findings may mean more than anyone else's when they're released. And because of the fact that when John Mack talks, people listen, they can't ignore it, he puts so much on the line because of this. A doctor, a department head, they tried to crucify him. They did. They tried to put him on the street. Thank God it didn't happen for all of us, and especially for John. But this is what he risked, and I want all of you to be aware of it. And you know, guys, just because the big flack about trying to get him removed is over, the truth is, every time he comes to talk to anyone publicly about these subjects, he puts it on the line. He's risking it all for the truth. John Mack.
Thank you. Ooh, those lights. Thank you, Bob. I want to thank Bob and Terry, and also especially Melanie and Jim Rogers of the technical crew. Only they know what they've had to put up with me as a somebody relatively in the Stone Age when it comes to certain kinds of technologies. I feel this conference is about much more than UFOs. There's been subjects that are not simply UFO related, like the communications from the other dimension on electronic media, or the discussions of energy. But beyond that, there's a meaning here that translates into the world, and that's very much what I want to address in this talk. I'm going to try to get done so there's at least 15, 20 minutes for discussion at the end. So that means I'm going to have to go through some of this very quickly, but a lot of what I'm going to talk with you about is elementary to a group like this, but I hope not all of it will be. One of my most beloved teachers is Erick Erickson, who I guess in our generation was kind of next to Freud and Jung up there among the psychoanalysts. And the way he talked about his work was always very simple. And he said he had just worked out a way of looking at things. So that's what I'm going to try to do, modeled on that, is present a kind of overview, but a way of looking at things in this field. There'll be many more questions here than answers. And I'm particularly interested in what the obstacles have been to our being more effective in moving what we have to say, which is so tremendously important, into the larger world. So, I guess a word that Rod used on Tuesday is empowerment. I want us to be more empowered somehow and contribute to that. That's a very high priority for me. So then I'm going to also talk a lot about the matter of the reptilians, and I think you'll see how that relates to the overview. But I want to use that as an example of a subject that invites the complex thinking, which I believe is essential in this field. And then at the end, I'm going to try to pull this together to what was said in the program I was going to talk about, which is what this all has to do with the present crisis and the world and dualistic thinking and all that. Before I overlook this, I want to thank one of the people back home, Will Boucher, who's our webmaster, for his help in providing the graphics for the slides. I'm responsible for the content, but he's responsible for some of the, I think, quite beautiful and sometimes slightly wacky graphics that you're going to see. So, let's move into this. Why is the subject of UFOs and alien encounters important? I put the word alien in quotes because I don't want to prejudice this subject by using words that have a certain kind of connotation for us. Alien is somebody who comes from a foreign land, usually somebody you don't want across your borders. And I want to avoid any language of that kind. Here are some of the reasons. If we're not alone in the universe, this is a matter of earth-shaking significance. I must have skipped one. That's all right. There is much to be learned of a scientific, technical, and military nature from the craft and their occupants. The implications for our understanding of human identity, who we really are in the universe, and of reality itself are immense. There are great social, political, and economic implications. Virtually none of our institutions would be unaffected. So what exactly is the alien encounter phenomenon? That may seem like a very elementary question, but you could get quite a good battle going over that. Simple, we think we know, but I think it's worthwhile to go back to basics sometimes. Visitation of alien spacecraft from other planets, star systems, or universes, or other dimensions. Well, yeah, probably. The penetration of varying density and intensity into our perceptual fields of images, energies, and objects that are sometimes, but not always, extraterrestrial spacecraft. Encounters with beings and energies that interact with human beings in a variety of ways. Other Earth-originated military activity, hoaxes, illusions, delusions, holographic projections from some other place or source, etc. None of the above. I don't know what that means, but I just threw that in there. So what are some of the fundamental questions that we start with?